Greetings kaiju fans and welcome to the debut episode of my brand new series, TohoScope. TohoScope is the ultimate retrospective series on every single one of Toho's Daikaiju films from 1954 to the present day. Each episode will cover interesting and possibly unknown facts about the film's production, its cast and crew, and much more. At the end of each episode, I'll include my own personal thoughts about the movie. For the inaugural video, what would be a more fitting subject than the progenitor of the kaiju genre? That's right, we're taking a look at the very first Godzilla film from 1954. The story of Godzilla begins with one man, Toho producer Tomoyuki Tanaka. After a Japanese-Indonesian co-production fell through due to political tensions, Tanaka was in a pickle. Tasked with developing a new film idea for that year, Tanaka looked out his plane window on the flight back from Indonesia and thought about the recent Daigo Fukiru-maru, or Lucky Dragon No. 5 incident, in which Japanese fishermen sailed too close to a United States nuclear test in the South Pacific, exposing the sailors to lethal amounts of radiation. Also on the producer's mind was the craze of the 1950s, monster movies. Films like Them and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms portrayed creatures beyond man's understanding who were awakened and mutated by atomic tests. Tanaka took his creature idea to Iwaro Mori, one of the top Toho executives who believed the project could be a success. With the right team, of course. Mori's first choice for the production was special effects director Eiji Tsuburaya, who had done a number of war films for the company. Tsuburaya was heavily inspired by Willis O'Brien's monster masterpiece King Kong, and dreamed of making a film like that for Toho one day. Tanaka's idea, now known as Project G, for Giant, was his chance. Looking for a director, Tanaka chose Ishiro Honda, who had worked with Tsuburaya before on said war films. To write the film, novelist Shigeru Kayama was hired. Kayama had wrote a number of science fiction and horror stories, and Tanaka and Mori believed him to be the perfect fit for a tale about a giant sea monster. With a crew assembled, it was time to make the monster. Contrary to popular belief, Tanaka had not always decided on the dinosaur shape for Godzilla. The design went through several iterations, including a giant octopus pitched by Tsuburaya and a mushroom cloud-headed ape-like beast, before sculptor Taizo Toshimitsu and art director Akira Watanabe settled on an alligator-scaled dinosaur-like monster. Toshimitsu and Watanabe designed Godzilla by combining the traits of upright dinosaurs like the Tyrannosaurus and the Iguanodon, and added the herbivorous Stegosaurus's famous backplates in order to give the monster a unique look. Now that Godzilla's look had been finalized, it was time to physically build the kaiju. On construction duty were the Yagi brothers, Koei and Kanji, and Aizo Kamai. Using primarily bamboo sticks and wire for a frame covered with a metal mesh and some padding, and finally melted over with liquid latex, they created a nearly 200-pound suit for the stuntmen to wear. Chosen for the dangerous task were Haruo Nakajima, known around the Toho lot for his stunt work in various war films, and Katsumi Tezuka, still in his teens. When Nakajima first put on the costume, he collapsed after moving only a foot or so. The suit was much too cumbersome to be used, so the Yagi brothers and Kamai cut the suit in half, using the top half for scenes in which Godzilla rises from the ocean, and attached suspenders to the bottom half, which Nakajima could use for up-close and to-the-ground destruction scenes. A new lighter suit was constructed afterwards. With the pieces of Godzilla himself in place, it was time to cast his human co-stars. The main trio of lead characters were portrayed by Akira Takarada, Momoko Kochi, and Akihiko Hirata. All three had minimal experience in acting, Hirata the most, with a small role in an earlier drama film, while Takarada and Kochi were recent graduates from Toho's acting school. Also starring was veteran actor Takeshi Shimura, who was, and still is, known throughout the world as a prominent actor in the films of Akira Kurosawa, including Drunken Angel, Rashomon, Ikiru, and Seven Samurai. The process of filming Godzilla was split into two groups, one for special effects headed by Tsuburaya and one for the human drama led by Honda, although both of them collaborated from time to time to keep continuity and give their own input on each section. Godzilla's special effects scenes were originally supposed to be filmed via stop-motion animation, but when Tsuburaya calculated the time and budget for the effects, it would have taken well over 7 years and almost twice the film's budget to produce what was written in the script. The miniature sets that Godzilla destroys were made in 1/24th scale and took a team of 40 carpenters a whole month to make. Some buildings were prematurely cut to crumble in a specific way, while others were doused in gasoline and lit on fire. To prepare for the role, Haruo Nakajima studied Eiji Tsuburaya's print of King Kong and went to the zoo to study the movement of bears. For the film's soundtrack, classical composer Akira Ifukube was hired. While composing the score, only Ishiro Honda's team's footage was available, so Tsuburaya had to describe to Ifukube what would happen on screen in order for him to compose the music. Ifukube was also responsible for Godzilla's trademark roar and footsteps. The roar was made using loosened strings from a contrabass, rubbing them with a rubber glove and applying an echo to the recording, which was played back at a lower speed. The entire filming of Godzilla took 3 months. At the time, it was the most expensive Japanese film ever made. The film was released in November of 1954. A crew of Japanese sailors are relaxing after a hard day's work. Suddenly, a flash of light erupts over their boat, and the crew are engulfed in a raging fire which sinks the vessel. Back in Japan, the vessel's company sends out a search party to find the missing crewmen, but that boat too is destroyed and sunk. On nearby Odo Island, the populace is having trouble catching any fish, which the elders claim is the work of the island god, Godzilla. Reporters arrive, trying to learn as much as they can about the nearby shipwrecks, and are told the story of Godzilla. Later that night, the monster arrives on Odo Island and destroys part of the town. The next day, surviving witnesses are taken to the Daya building in Tokyo. A young man, Shinichi Yamada, tells the government that a giant creature killed the rest of his family. A paleontologist, Dr. Kyohei Yamane, played by Takeshi Shimura, suggests sending a team to investigate the island. On Odo, Yamane and his team discover giant footprints, massive amounts of radiation, and living trilobites, animals that existed millions of years ago and were thought to have gone extinct. Suddenly, the village alarm sounds, and the team follows the villagers up a mountain where they come face to face with Godzilla himself. Arriving back in Tokyo, Yamane reports to the Diet that Godzilla is an ancient species of dinosaur that was awakened and mutated by atomic tests. The building erupts in a debate over whether or not to reveal the monster to the public. Eventually, it is decided that Godzilla's existence must be known to the country and that it must be destroyed before it can cause any harm. As death charges are dropped in Tokyo Bay, Yamane sulks at home, distraught that the government would rather harm Godzilla than learn from it. Yamane's daughter Emiko, played by Momoko Kochi, is engaged to Daisuke Serizawa, played by Akihiko Harada, a scientist working on an experimental device he names the Oxygen Destroyer. When Emiko plans to tell him that she does not want to be married due to her love for shipping company Lieutenant Ogata, played by Akira Takarada, he reveals the device's power to her, causing her to scream in terror and nearly faint. As she leaves, Serizawa asks her to promise not to reveal the Oxygen Destroyer to anyone. She agrees. That night, Godzilla makes landfall for the first time and attacks Shinagawa. While the attack is short, the damage is severe. The military constructs a giant line of high-tension electrical towers to repel the beast. Unfortunately, as Godzilla arrives again the next night, the towers are destroyed and the monster descends into the heart of Tokyo, destroying everything in sight, including many famous landmarks and districts. The entire city is engulfed in a sea of fire as Godzilla ravages it. The military attempts to fire back at the monster, but their tanks, shells, and bullets do nothing. The next morning, the city is nothing but rubble, and hospitals are overflowing with dead, dying, and injured citizens. Families are torn apart, children are orphaned, and massive amounts of radiation emanate from the victims. Emiko is distraught by the chaos and tells Ogata about Serizawa's device in the hopes that it could be the key to defeating Godzilla. Ogata and Emiko head over to Serizawa's lab and plead with the scientist to use the device on Godzilla. Serizawa initially refuses, worried that the use of the device would lead to more chaos in the world than the race for the atomic bomb. After witnessing a mass prayer on television, he has a change of heart, but conditions that the Oxygen Destroyer will be used only once and burns his research to make sure of it. In Tokyo Bay, Serizawa and Ogata suit up to dive and deploy the device. As they descend, they come across Godzilla resting underwater, but it wakes up and seemingly notices the divers. Godzilla moves closer and Serizawa arms the device. Ogata begins to surface, but Serizawa stays behind. He tells Emiko and Ogata to be happy together and that his suicide will mean the secrets of the Oxygen Destroyer will forever stay buried. As the device disintegrates Godzilla's body, the monster lets out a dying scream and topples over into the ocean, reduced to nothing but bones. The monster is defeated, but the tone is somber. A great scientist has been lost in the battle. Yamane laments that even though this Godzilla is defeated, if mankind continues to misuse atomic energy, another could take its place. Godzilla was not actually the first piece of media to feature the giant monster. A few months before the film's release, a radio drama was produced using a shooting script. The show ran up until the film's release. Dr. Serizawa originally featured a much more heavily scarred face than what is shown in the film. Publicity photos and even the film's poster show him with larger burns. This was changed by Ishiro Honda due to concerns that the audience wouldn't empathize with such a disfigured character. Contrary to popular belief, the film's official name is not Gojira. Toho's official English transliteration is Godzilla. The special effects crew nicknamed the monster Goji, a play on words of the Japanese term for 5 a.m. in reference to how long the crew would stay up shooting scenes with the monster. Godzilla is almost universally recognized as the pinnacle of the franchise. It's lauded for its cinematic innovation, its somber and serious tone, and its fantastic special effects. In my opinion, those points are all correct. Godzilla is the greatest of not just the franchise itself, but of all giant monster movies since the beginning. Godzilla takes a concept as unrealistic as a giant radioactive dinosaur and applies a level of seriousness to it, the likes of which are very rare with the genre. Godzilla's characters, for the most part, are well-rounded and played well. Each actor submerges themselves in the role of their character and are believable as each. High praise must go to Akihiko Harada, whose performance as Dr. Serizawa stands out as the highlight of the film. Harada and Takarada originally had their roles switched, but Honda believed they fit each other's roles much better. Harada plays Serizawa as a great departure from the typical mad doctor seen in horror and sci-fi films. Serizawa doesn't want to rule the world with his device, he accidentally creates it and is frightened and distraught by the idea that it could be used for evil. His noble sacrifice to keep the secret locked up is a great ending for the character. Takeshi Shimura as Dr. Yamane portrays another atypical scientist. Originally, Yamane was a more shady character, wearing a cape, only coming out at night, and even attempts to sabotage the electrical tower plant to defeat Godzilla. In the final film, Yamane is conflicted with his beliefs, just like Serizawa. He knows Godzilla is a dangerous creature, but he wants to preserve it so that the secrets of its survival can be studied and shared with the world. Akira Ifukube's soundtrack is great. The booming footsteps of Godzilla and the earth-shattering howl of the monster are a great opening to the film. The theme of the monster is catchy and urgent and even incorporates the monster's name through its note structure, which was a technique Ifukube learned from native Japanese music. Of course, we can't talk about Godzilla without mentioning the title character. Tsuburaya special effects sequences are the highlights of the film. The scenes of Godzilla's destruction are raw, powerful, and innovative. Seeing the monster unleash his radioactive breath on buildings, streets, and even people is disturbing and awe-inspiring. Nakajima and Tezuka portray the creature as a feral beast without much thought to its actions. Godzilla does have its fair share of minor problems, though. The biggest is the character of Ogata. Akira Takarada plays him well, but there's not much development for the character, and he does not feel well suited for a lead role. In fact, he's more of a supporting character. Along with other quibbles, such as Yamane's false proclamation that the Jurassic period was only 2 million years ago, these are not enough to detriment the film in a major way. Godzilla is a personal picture, but not of one mind. It is a film that is brought to life by the goals and mindsets of many men. For Honda, it is a cautionary tale about the dangers of war and its consequences, bolstered by his own personal experiences overseas and at home. For Tsuburaya, it is the fulfillment of a boyhood dream, a monster he himself made, just like his hero Willis O'Brien. For Tanaka, it was the perfect replacement for the failed Indonesian co-production that eventually turned into a multi-million-dollar venture. For Takarada and Nakajima, it was the jumpstart to a successful career in the world of film. In a retrospective interview, Takarada likens Godzilla to a successful classmate and says he is proud to have been part of the legacy. For me, Godzilla may not have the same spark effect that others have, but it is still the best film to me in the franchise. It's moody, intelligent, and somber, a film that knows what it wants to say and isn't afraid to say it. The original Godzilla is a fantastic first start to the franchise, and for that, it gets the highest rating possible on my chart, a satisfying 5 stars. Viewers may have noticed I've left out a lot of information in the 1956 American version of the film, Godzilla King of the Monsters. The fact is, there is so much more information on this particular version that it deserves another video in of itself, so look out for that soon. Godzilla can be found on DVD and Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection. For streaming, it is available on Filmstruck, Criterion's streaming service, as well as Starz. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was an informative and enjoyable video. Check back for more TohoScopes in the future. See you next time.